Ask an older relative what a movie ticket cost 20 years ago. In most places, the answer sits somewhere around half of today's price. Same seat, same popcorn, double the number on the ticket. Nothing went wrong. Nobody cheated anybody. That is simply inflation doing what it always does, raising the price of nearly everything, a little every year, without ever announcing itself. It works so quietly that it has earned a name: the silent tax. Nobody votes on it, everybody pays it, and most people never notice it until years of it have piled up. Today, let's make it visible. Meet Nina. She is 28, careful with money, and she has just received a $10,000 bonus. She does what feels like the safest possible thing. She parks it in her savings account and promises herself she will not touch it. It is meant for a home down payment someday, maybe 15 or 18 years away. Every time she checks the account, the money is right there. $10,000 plus a little interest dripping in. Nothing lost, nothing risked. Or so it looks. Here is what her account statement will never show her. If prices rise at about 4% a year, a reasonable long-run baseline, though it runs higher in some countries and in some years, then in roughly 18 years, prices double. The bricks, the paint, the legal fees, the kitchen tiles, all of it, about twice today's price. Nina's balance will still read $10,000 and something, but it will buy about half of what it buys today. The number survived the 18 years, the buying power did not. And nothing on the statement, not one line, will ever mention it. To see what is happening to her money, picture an escalator. The kind in any shopping mall, except this one moves downward, slowly, all the time, and it never switches off. That down escalator is inflation, and your money, all of it, is standing on it. Money that simply stands still, bills in a drawer, cash under the mattress, a balance that earns nothing, gets carried down. Not fast, roughly one small step each year. You never feel it day to day because prices do not jump, they creep. Milk costs a little more this year, the bus fare edges up the next. But stand still for 10, 15, 20 years and you discover you have been carried down a whole floor. Your money did not shrink. The world it has to shop in grew more expensive all around it. Now, what if your money walks a little? A savings account paying 2% a year is like walking slowly up the down escalator. There is real movement, the number genuinely grows, but the escalator is coming down faster than you are climbing. If prices rise 4% and your money earns 2%, you are still sliding downward, just politely, with interest credited on the way down. And this is the part that fools almost everyone. Motion is not progress. The only question that ever matters on an escalator is whether you are climbing faster than it descends. That gives us two words worth keeping for life. They sound technical, but you already understand them now. Your nominal return is how many steps you took, the rate printed on the label, 2% on the savings account, 5% on a certificate of deposit, which is simply a fixed-term deposit at a bank. Your real return is which floor you actually reached, the printed rate minus inflation. Nominal is the effort, real is the result. Banks advertise nominal. Your life runs entirely on real. So let's run Nina's $10,000 through one honest year, with inflation at 4%. Option 1, the draw. It earns nothing, and 4% of $10,000 is $400, so it quietly loses $400 of buying power. Option 2, the savings account at 2%. It earns $200 while losing $400 of power. Net result, minus $200. Still descending. Option 3. A certificate of deposit at 5%. It earns $500 against the same $400. Net plus $100. Finally, a real climb, but a modest one, about 1% in real terms. Every one of those sums you can check in your head. The rate minus inflation times the amount. That is the whole calculation. Stretch the same arithmetic over the years and the gap becomes a canyon. At 4% inflation, prices double roughly every 18 years. Divide 72 by the inflation rate to get the doubling time. It is the same doubling rule we used in our compound interest video, except here it works against you. 18 years in, prices have doubled and idle cash buys half. 36 years in, prices have quadrupled and idle cash buys a quarter. This is why the $100 in your wallet today buys roughly what $45 or $50 bought 20 years ago. A litre of milk, a bus ticket, a school notebook, a cup of coffee. Pick anything ordinary and ask an elder what it cost. The same pattern repeats nearly everywhere. Nobody stole a single dollar. The escalator just never stopped moving. A fair question at this point. Why do prices rise at all? Who decided this? Nobody did, exactly. Prices creep upward for ordinary reasons. More people wanting the same goods, fuel and transport costs feeding into everything else, wages rising and flowing back into prices. In fact, a little inflation is considered normal, even healthy for a growing economy, because it keeps money moving instead of hiding in drawers. The trouble is never that the escalator exists. The trouble is forgetting that it exists and leaving money standing on it for decades. Central banks spend their days trying to keep the escalator slow and steady. Your job is much simpler. Know its speed and make sure your long-term money climbs faster. Now, where do people go wrong with inflation? 3 places, and all 3 are easy to fall into. Mistake 1. Judging money by its number instead of by what it buys. Suppose a deposit turns $10,000 into $15,000 over 10 years. It sounds like winning, the number grew by half. But at 4% inflation, prices over those same 10 years rise by almost the same amount, about 48%. 10 years of waiting and the buying power barely moved a step. The number went up while the power stood still, and only one of those pays for groceries. The habit to build is simple. Whenever you see an amount, silently ask what it buys, not what it says. Mistake 2. Believing small percentages are too small to matter. 4% sounds gentle. It is not a crisis headline. Nobody panics over it. But 4% compounds, year after year, on food, rent, school fees, medicines, everything at once. Small and relentless beats large and rare. The escalator never needs to speed up to win. It just never, ever stops. Mistake 3. Keeping long-term money entirely in cash because cash feels safe. For money you need next month, a savings account is exactly right. That is what it is for. But money you will not touch for 10 or 15 years, left entirely in cash, is a sure, slow loss of buying power with a safety label on it. And there is an opposite stumble worth naming too, discovering inflation and panicking into anything that promises huge returns. Climbing faster than the escalator matters, leaping off the side of it does not end well. If a promise sounds too good, it usually costs more than inflation ever would. So what can you actually do? 4 steps, none of them complicated. First, sort your money by when you will need it. Money for the next few months stays liquid and boring, a savings account, cash at hand. Yes, it pays the escalator toll. Think of that as the fair price of instant access. Money you will not need for many years is the money that has a duty to climb. Second, run the one-line test on every product anyone offers you. The return minus inflation. If a scheme pays 3% while prices rise 4%, that is minus 1% in real terms, however safe and official the label sounds. You do not need to predict inflation perfectly. A rough, long-run figure keeps you honest, and the test takes 10 seconds. Third, for the long horizon money, look at options that have historically stayed ahead of inflation over long stretches. Broad index funds, retirement accounts, growth assets you genuinely understand. Notice the careful wording, historically and over long stretches. Nobody can promise next year. The goal is not the highest number on a poster. It is a dependable, real return above zero, held patiently. Fourth, repeat a small check once a year. Inflation changes, interest rates change. 10 minutes once a year. What are prices rising at? What is my money earning? Subtract one from the other. If the answer is negative, your money is standing on the escalator, and at least now you know it. So, the down escalator. Inflation carries everything downward, about a step a year. Idle money rides it down, and a low interest rate only slows the slide without reversing it. Real progress has one definition: your return minus inflation above zero. Watch the floor you reach, not the steps you take. And here is our question for you. Which everyday price rise has shocked you the most? What did it cost 10 years ago, and what does it cost now? Tell us in the comments.